Yeah, he clocked your tattoos downstairs. Are you okay to say what they mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have the king's crown on my hand with a heart. I mean, the love for my country. I have the Albanian skipe on my forearm, which means like almost brother, I guess.
Yeah.
And I have the Albanian flag on my wrist. I have the Albanian flag on my back. I have the king's crown with the Albanian word on my chest. Uh, and most of these tattoos as a kid were because my grandparents actually wanted me to have it. And through the years, I followed suit and kept doing it. And I show a lot of love to my family. My family in Albania. I got a lot of family still in Albania. My cousin Endrit's there. It's like a brother to me, and I show respect to our country. That's
Now, is that a street tattoo or was it a prison tattoo?
No, I got one prison tattoo when I was with O in Brazilian penitentiary. I had one done there, and most of my tattoos are from the street.
So in these New York neighborhoods, there's friction between different communities. What was it like between the Albanian community and the Italian community?
Well, growing up, really, people didn't know Albania. They weren't, because Albania was a shut down country. It was communism prior to that. And so you didn't have too many Albanians coming into the United States. And the ones that did, most of them were hardworking people, actually, and they didn't know them. So everybody assumed I was Italian and not Albanian, unless they were from my neighborhood that knew me personally. Otherwise, if they just saw the way I looked, they would think I was Italian. And most of my friends were, the street friends were Italian. My regular friends who lived a normal life were mostly Irish. So, my neighbor was mixed. One section of the neighbor was Irish German. The other section on the other half of town was Italian. So I had a mixture of both. But the Albanians really weren't known until recently in my area, the last 20 years. I had a couple of friends. Sadat Lika was Albanian, went to school with me, and his father and uncle were very known, famous gangsters in the area, went to jail.
So it was a bit of a novelty then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're known to be an aggressive country. I've said it, many times over. The problem with the Albanians and myself, and what got me into trouble, is sometimes we jump without thinking. We use our balls before our brains, and it caused me a lot of, myself getting hurt and stabbed up and beat up, and also me hurting and stabbing, shooting a lot of guys.
So was it frustrating for you then because you couldn't be a made man? And the audience on YouTube, a lot of kids watching this right now, late teens and stuff like that, they probably don't even understand what a made man is. Could you just expand on that a bit and say how you can qualify for that?
Yeah, there's 5 families. Your father has to be Italian. It used to be a little different, but it's on your father's side. And they straighten out Cosa Nostra, meaning they'll prick your finger, they'll put a saint, and they'll burn you in your hand. And you become part of the organization as an officially made man. I mean, listen, I've said this over. I said, that never bothered me. I was a street guy, and guys like Fat Andy Ruggiano treated me, and their sons treated me as a street guy, a tough guy, and they trusted me, liked me. I loved the family, and as the years went on, I started hanging around different gangsters that were Irish. There was a Westies, and there was guys from my neighborhood, Irish guys who were tough guys. And I think that I understood one thing, and that was the only thing that mattered. Whether you're from the UK and you're British, whether you're Irish, if you're a tough guy, you're a gangster, you're going to be respected. And if you're making money, you're respected. So it depended on where your balls were at, and I seemed to find mine pretty good. So.
The Albanians and the Irish are very similar. It's very hard working, aren't they?
Yeah, most Albanians, we have a reputation of being a rough country, but I think it's because we've been suppressed forever, and it's a country that was communism. It's not particularly a wealthy country, and I think that we, the guys like myself that were very aggressive and doing things to make money, got that reputation.
So how did you first get accepted in the heavier duty criminal fraternity? What was the first stuff you did that was breaking the law that got the police's attention?
First you collected money, bookmaking money for, as a kid for different bookmakers. And then I'm doing favors and doing beatings for them. And from the beatings, actually I got into a little more serious trouble. And when I did, a guy tried to shoot me. My first guy that helped me was, I went to the Ruggiano family, and Albert and Anthony Ruggiano and their father took care of that for me. Threw a guy off a building, and then I understood that if anybody fucks with me, their family's going to be there to protect me. And then from that point, I moved on in the life and kept moving forward.
What was your entry level position?
I mean, you come in as just, as a family friend, as a ball player, the way I did innocently, and then you become an associate of that family. And then you looked at, as I got more powerful, as I got older, I was representative as a made guy, and, people looked at me, nobody questioned me they looked at me as a street boss as the years went on. And different people that did some interviews about me, Sammy Gravano, for one, the underbosses, called me a soulmate, Albanian soulmate, and they're a professional enforcer for the Gambino family. So,
how much work do you have to put in to go from the bottom level to become an associate?
I mean, listen, everything's built on, neighborhood. So they knew me since I was a kid, the Ruggianos. So the trust level was, since I'm a baby. I mean, they literally knew me since I was 7, 8 years old. So it wasn't hard to get close to them because I grew up around them. I went to the same boxing gym as Albert Ruggiano, and the father watched me fight and watched me play ball. And so the trust level for me to get involved was very simple, actually.
Was there any point where this is getting heavier and heavier, you're thinking, perhaps this isn't the occupation for me?
No, it was the opposite.
As you live it, you don't even think
yeah,
about it.
you don't think about it. It's like anything else. You're used to it, and when things kept stepping up from different things, and the money's getting better, also your comfort level's the same. I mean, you look at it as like jumping in a ring. It's just part of your everyday life. You okay it with your own self and your brain that what you're doing is you're hurting other guys that are in this life. And, you try to have a set of moral. I mean, Andy Ruggiano, the father, taught his sons to be humble. And them in turn, I guess, because, although I was around the father and the sons, they're older than me, the sons, and they taught me the same thing, to be a little more humble. And I think that I followed suit, and I tried to be humble, but I also became vicious. I went from 0 to 100 if a guy disrespected us or somebody in our crew.
I think from an old school point of view like yourself too, there was, tell me if I'm correct or not, but there was no drugs allowed. You didn't deal drugs or anything.
Yeah, we didn't deal drugs at all, but we all dealt drugs. When guys say we didn't deal drugs, I'll tell you, guys are full of shit.
Yeah.
So we all dealt drugs.
So that wasn't in the brown paper bag the money handed. That was your sidekick.
We're all moving drugs.
Yeah.
We might not be sitting on the corner ourselves selling it.
Yeah.
But we're arranging it, we're moving it, and we're using it. Yeah. So, some guys can't handle it and they used it too much. And, we'd be at parties, you'd see a beautiful woman with champagne lounges. If they won, a gram or an eighth of Coke or whatever, they're getting it. I like to be, straightforward and honest. I don't want to bullshit anybody, but that's the life. We're in the street, and we're not choir boys. And somebody that says we didn't touch the stuff, yeah, that's for when we're in that life. That's what we're supposed to say. But when we get caught with it, it's actually a death sentence officially, but most guys don't get killed for it.
Now, are you supposed to have, I've seen on the movies where they say, like, the true Italians, they always have a wife. You're supposed to have you can have your squeezes, you can have your different women, but you should always go back to your wife. Is that true, or?
I got to put my glasses on so you don't see my eyes on that question. Yeah. Listen, we're street guys.
Yeah.
Right? We have wives, we got girlfriends, we have girlfriends on the girlfriends. We're running around, we're all making money. You're driving beautiful cars. Yeah. I own nightclubs. My friends own nightclubs. We're traveling country to country.
Life's good.
And, life's good, and you try to keep it, and you believe at the time that you can keep your marriage intact, and you can keep your life intact, and you can be a father to your kids. It's too difficult a mix to do. The woman at the beginning, they might turn a blind eye to it. Later on, they don't. And it takes effect on your kids also. So, it's not conducive to be a gangster and have a family, honestly. Yeah. I mean, we all do it. And then later on, as you become an adult and a responsible man to your family, you start understanding financially we're there for you, but every other which way we're not. And we have no business having families and being gangsters at the same time.
And the wives, do they hang around together too?
Yeah, the wives all stay together. It's camaraderie between them. It's really no choice at the matter.
Yeah.
Later on when I'm with Gotti, my wife, my first wife, we get divorced, but we're spending all our times, dinners, holidays at the Gotti family's house, regardless what this fucking idiot Gotti says. But, this is the reality of what goes on. We all stay together. It's like a ball team. You're with a baseball team. I played college ball. And our coach, one of the things he did was a smart thing. He forced us all to stay together. We weren't allowed to stay with fraternities or other fraternities that stay with different sororities. We had our own fraternity within the baseball team. And that closeness makes you play better. And it was the same thing in the mob. Some of the things that Gotti had later on, senior, taught us was to force us to stay together. In one turn, he's right. It would bring guys to the ability to get a little closer and protect each other more. And the other thing, he was way wrong because it brings the attention of the police to get everybody locked up.
But you know everyone's strengths and weaknesses as well, don't you, that way?
Yeah, I mean, listen, most guys in the mob, you look at a guy, and I'll use Sammy Gravano, I use him a lot, and because he was a powerful boss and he was a strong mob guy. If somebody says, I don't care if they like him or dislike him, you got to be honest. The guy was a money maker, he was very quiet, and he was a tough guy. Past that, everybody can have their opinion. Mm-hmm. So guys like that, you want to look and you want to follow.